This is WLLR 9913 AM. My name is Carla Nessen. I am the overnight programming coordinator for this station, and I've been awake for 11 hours reviewing broadcast logs that should have taken me 20 minutes to verify. I need to say this on air because I have been unable to reach anyone at the National Weather Service Regional Office. The County Emergency Management Liaison has not returned 4 messages, and our station manager will not answer his home line. It is currently Thursday, October 3rd, 2:17 in the morning, and I am broadcasting this from the WLLR studio on Garfield Avenue because someone needs to hear what I have found, and because I believe it is no longer a clerical error. Every weather forecast issued through our station in the last 9 days has ended with the same 6-digit county location code appended to the same header. This is the specific area message encoding system. The digital protocol the National Weather Service uses to target alerts to specific geographic areas. When you hear that burst of noise before a weather alert, that is same. It contains information. What kind of event, where it applies, how long it lasts, who issued it. The location is encoded as a 6-digit FIPS number. The first digit designates the county subdivision. The next 2 digits are the state. The last 3 are the county. The code appearing at the end of every forecast, every single one, regardless of content, regardless of issuing office, regardless of whether the alert concerns our listening area at all, is 029117. I will say it again, 029117. There is no county 117 in State 29. State 29 is Missouri. Missouri has 115 counties, and the independent city of St. Louis, which is coded as 510. County codes in Missouri run from 001 to 229, but they skip numbers. There is no 117. I checked the full FIPS registry published by the Census Bureau. I checked the National Weather Service lookup tables. I called the automated verification line in Silver Spring. 029117 does not correspond to any physical location in the United States. And yet it has appeared appended silently after the legitimate location codes in 43 consecutive weather products broadcast through this station since September 24th. Not once has it triggered an alarm on any receiver in our market. Not once has it been flagged by our automated compliance system. I only found it because I was doing a manual log audit for our quarterly FCC filing. And I listened to the raw same bursts because I have done this job for 14 years. And I know what they are supposed to sound like. They sounded longer. That is all. Just slightly longer. Let me explain what a normal same header sounds like to someone trained to hear it. The digital burst lasts approximately 3 seconds. It is transmitted 3 times for redundancy. Each transmission sounds like a rapid series of buzzing chirps. Some people call it a duck quacking. Others describe it as a fax machine. It has a rhythm. After 14 years, I know that rhythm the way a mechanic knows the sound of a particular engine. I can tell you roughly how many location codes are embedded by duration alone. On September 24th, I was reviewing overnight automation logs. We run syndicated programming from midnight to 5, and I noticed the 2:40 a.m. weather insert had a same burst that lasted approximately 0.4 of a second longer than typical for a single county advisory. I assumed a multi-county product had been routed to us in error. It happens. I flagged it for the morning engineer and moved on. The next day, the morning engineer Dale told me the same decode looked normal. 1 originator code, 1 event code, 1 location, standard purge time. I asked him to pull the raw audio. He did. He played it back through our decoder. It showed 1 location, our county, 029183. Perfectly normal. But when I listened to the raw audio at half speed, I could hear the additional data burst after the dash following 029183. 6 digits, repeated in all 3 redundant transmissions, followed by the standard purge time and timestamp, as though the code belonged there. Dale said the decoder was filtering it, interpreting it as a malformed byte, and discarding it during columnar parity correction. The system was designed to take the best 2 out of 3 transmissions for each byte. And since this appended code was technically outside the expected field length, the decoder treated it as noise. It was invisible to any automated system. Only a human ear, trained to notice duration, could catch it. I asked Dale to pull the raw audio for every weather product broadcast in the previous 48 hours. He found the code in all of them. I then accessed our archive server and pulled everything back to September 20th. The code first appears on September 24th at 12:15 a.m., a required weekly test. It has not been absent from a single weather product since. I called the National Weather Service forecast office that issues our products. They said their outgoing same headers contained no anomalous codes. I asked them to verify by sending me a raw test product directly. They did. I recorded it. When it arrived at our station and was logged by our automation system, the code was there, 029117, appended after the legitimate location data. It is being added somewhere between their transmitter and our recording system, or it is being added inside our recording system, or it was always in the transmission and their equipment, like ours, cannot see it. I do not know which possibility frightens me more. After Dale confirmed the scope, I did what any reasonable person would do. I searched for 029117. I searched FIPS databases, Census Bureau archives, historical county registries from the 1970s and 1980s, when FIPS codes were first standardized. I searched decommissioned county partitions, because counties have been merged, renamed, absorbed throughout American history. I searched proposed codes that were allocated but never assigned, administrative placeholders used internally by Weather Service computers, Canadian location codes that might share a numeric format. Nothing. The number does not correspond to anything. It is not a retired code. It is not a proposed code. It is not a test placeholder. The Census Bureau's public registry shows State 29 jumping from County Code 115 directly to 119. There is no 116. There is no 117. There is no 118. I called a colleague at a radio station in Jefferson City, Missouri, and asked her to check if her same headers showed anything unusual. She said no. I asked her to listen to the raw audio. She said she would call me back. That was Tuesday. She has not called back. I then expanded my search to our own station archives going back 5 years. I was looking for any prior appearance of 029117. Our archive server stores compressed audio of every broadcast minute for regulatory purposes. I wrote a script, or rather, I asked Dale to write a script that would scan the audio files for same bursts exceeding the expected duration for our county's standard single-location products. The script identified 0 anomalous durations prior to September 24th of this year. Whatever this is, it started 9 days ago. On Wednesday yesterday, I drove to the County Emergency Management Office on Baxter Street. I spoke with the duty officer, whose name I will not use on air. I explained the situation. I showed him printouts of the decoded same headers with the anomalous code highlighted. He looked at them for approximately 30 seconds, then asked me if our station had experienced any equipment malfunctions recently. I said no. He asked if we had replaced any hardware. I said no. He asked if anyone had accessed our automation system remotely. I said I did not believe so, but I would check. Then he said something that I have been turning over in my mind for the past 18 hours. He said, We've had 3 other calls about county codes this week. I asked him what he meant. He said he could not elaborate, but that other broadcast facilities in the region had contacted his office about irregularities in their same products. He said it was being looked into. He said I should continue normal operations. He said I should not broadcast about it. I am broadcasting about it. I am broadcasting about it because 40 minutes ago, I ran the decoder on tonight's 1 a.m. weather product. And for the first time, the code 029117 did not appear at the end of the header. It appeared at the beginning. I need to be precise about what I mean. The standard same header format places the location codes after the event code and before the purge time. When 029117 was appended at the end, it came after our legitimate county code 029183, separated by the standard dash delimiter. The decoder ignored it because it exceeded the expected field count. It was invisible. As of the 1 a.m. product tonight, approximately 75 minutes ago, 029117 now precedes 029183 in the location field. It is the first listed location. Our county is the second. The decoder reads it normally because it is within the expected field structure. It simply appears to reference a multi-county product that includes one location the decoder does not recognize. The decoder flags it internally as an unrecognized location code and discards it, issuing the alert for our county only. But I want you to understand what this means structurally. 9 days ago, this code was an appendage. Something tacked on after the legitimate data, unrecognizable to automated systems. Now, it has moved inside the legitimate structure. It has become part of the message. It has priority over our own location. I have been trying to reach Dale for the past 2 hours. He is not answering his phone. His wife's phone goes directly to voicemail. I have also tried calling the NWS office again, and I receive a recorded message stating that the office is currently experiencing technical difficulties with outgoing voice communications and directing callers to the website. The website shows no unusual alerts for our area. The website does not display raw same headers. I want to tell you something else. At 1:30 a.m., approximately 45 minutes ago, I received a same encoded product that was not a weather forecast. The event code was a DR administrative message. These are rare. They are used for non-weather emergency information. The originator code was CIV Civil Authorities. The location field contained a single code, 029117. No other locations. The purge time was set to 9,999, which is not a valid purge time under the protocol. The maximum is 9,930, representing 99 hours and 30 minutes. 9,999 does not exist in the specification. The audio message portion of this ADR was 8 seconds of silence. The attention signal, the dual tone alert, was present. The header was valid enough to activate our station's EAS equipment. The message scrolled across our alert display. It read, "Administrative message for 029117. And then 8 seconds of nothing. I did not rebroadcast it. Our automation system would normally rebroadcast any CIV-originated ADR automatically. But I'd switched to manual override 2 hours ago when I discovered the code repositioning. I am the only person in this building. I am the only person making decisions about what goes out over this frequency." The silence in that message was not dead air. I listened to it on headphones. There is something in it, not sound exactly, but a pressure, a density, as though the silence has weight. I mentioned that the emergency management duty officer said 3 other broadcast facilities had called about county code irregularities. I have now confirmed 2 of them. At 1:50 a.m., I reached a night operator at KBWL in Grayson, 32 miles west of here. She picked up on the first ring. She sounded, I want to say, relieved. She said the word, "finally," before I identified myself. Her name is Patrice, and she's been alone in her station since 10 p.m., and she's been seeing the same code. But not 029117. Her code is 029118. The next number. The next non-existent county in the same non-existent sequence. Patrice told me that her code appeared for the first time on September 25th, one day after mine. It followed the same progression. Appended after legitimate locations, invisible to decoders, then migrating forward in the header until tonight, when it moved to the primary position. She received the same ADR message with event code CIV, originator civil authorities, purge time 9999, and 8 seconds of weighted silence. I asked her if she had listened to the silence closely. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "It's not empty. Something is being said, but not in sound." I asked her what she meant. She said she did not know how to explain it. She said that after listening to the 8 seconds 3 times, she found herself writing something on the notepad next to her console. She did not remember deciding to write. She looked down, and there were numbers on the pad. She read them to me. 47.2391, negative 93.0012. Coordinates. I asked her if she had searched them. She said yes. She said they point to a location in northern Minnesota. A field. Nothing on satellite imagery. No structures, no roads within a quarter mile. She said she had been staring at the satellite image for 20 minutes before I called, and that the field looks her word. Ready? I asked her what it looked like ready for. She did not answer. She asked me if I had listened to my 8 seconds more than once. I told her I had only listened once. She said, "Don't listen again, or do. I don't know. I don't think it matters anymore whether we choose to." I tried to reach the third station. I do not know which one it is. The duty officer would not tell me. I have been calling every station within a 50-mile radius that I have contacts at. Most do not answer at this hour. 2 answered and reported nothing unusual, but both admitted they do not monitor raw, same audio. They rely entirely on their decoders. Their decoders cannot see this. At 2:05 a.m., I received a second ADR message. Same format. Same 9999 purge time. Same 8 seconds. But the location field now reads 029117, 029118, 029119. 3 codes. 3 non-existent counties. Growing. I need to go back to Tuesday. I need to tell you what Dale found before he stopped answering his phone. Dale is our chief engineer. He has been with WLLR for 22 years. He built our automation system from components. He understands SAME encoding at the byte level. He once explained to me that each character in the header is transmitted as a 7-bit ASCII value, with the most significant bit zeroed, least significant bit first, at 520.83 bits per second. He knows this the way I know our programming schedule. It is the architecture of his working life. On Tuesday morning, after I showed him the full 9-day pattern, Dale did something I did not ask him to do. He took the raw audio of the anomalous same burst and decoded it manually, not with our station decoder, but by hand, with an oscilloscope and a frequency analyzer, converting the mark and space tones back to binary, then to ASCII. He wanted to see if the appended code contained any data beyond the 6-digit location number. He found that it did. After the 6 digits 029117, separated by what should have been the dash delimiter, but was actually a slightly different character. A marked tone held for 1 additional cycle, making it technically a different ASCII value. There were 12 more bytes. These bytes did not correspond to any element in the same protocol. They were not a purge time. They were not a timestamp. They were not a call sign. Dale decoded them as. At the time, neither of us recognized this as coordinates. Dale assumed it was a serial number or internal reference code. He logged it and went home at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. He sent me a text at 7:14 p.m. saying he was going to run it against some databases. At 9:38 p.m., he sent a second text that said only, I drove out there. There is no third text. Dale lives 14 miles from the station. I drove past his house on my way in tonight. The lights were off. His truck was not in the driveway. His wife's car was there. I knocked. No answer. The front door was closed, but not latched. It swung open about 2 inches when I knocked. I did not go inside. I do not know why I did not go inside. Something about the air that came through the gap felt like the silence in the ADR message. Dense. Patient. I came here instead. I am here now. I am telling you this now. Patrice's coordinates and Dale's decoded coordinates are identical. 47.2391. Negative 93.0012. A field in northern Minnesota. 2 people, one who listened to the silence repeatedly, one who decoded the hidden data, arrived at the same location through different paths. I have listened to the silence once. I have not written anything involuntarily. I have not felt compelled to drive anywhere. But it is 2:17 a.m., and the studio feels smaller than it did at midnight. It is now 3:45 a.m. I have been broadcasting continuously for 90 minutes. I do not know how many people are listening. Our overnight ratings suggest between 600 and 1,200 receivers are typically tuned to this frequency at this hour. Mostly clock radios in bedrooms, a few long-haul drivers on Route 7, the sheriff's dispatch desk, which keeps us on for weather updates. I do not know if any of them are awake and hearing this. I need them to be hearing this. Since my last update, I have received 4 more ADR messages at approximately 20-minute intervals. Each one follows the same format. CIV originator, 9999 purge time, 8 seconds of weighted silence. But the location field is growing. The first tonight contained 1 code, then 3. The most recent, received at 3:32 a.m., contains 9 codes. 9 non-existent counties in state 29. 9 locations that do not correspond to any physical territory. The same protocol allows up to 31 location codes per message. At this rate of growth, the header will reach maximum capacity by approximately 7 a.m. I do not know what happens when it reaches 31. I do not know if 31 is a meaningful threshold or an arbitrary technical limit, but I noticed that the protocol was designed with 31 as the maximum. Because the original engineers determined that no legitimate emergency would ever affect more than 31 counties simultaneously, it was considered a reasonable upper bound for even the most catastrophic weather events. A tornado outbreak, a hurricane landfall. 31 was the apocalypse number. The "this is as bad as it gets" ceiling. Something is building toward that ceiling with mechanical regularity. I called Patrice again at 3:15. She answered. She sounded different, not frightened, not calm, but something between the two that I do not have a word for. Attentive, extremely attentive. She said she had received the same ADR messages. She said the codes in her messages were different from mine. Hers begin at 029200 and ascend. A parallel sequence. She said she had stopped trying to decode the silence. She said she did not need to anymore. I asked her what she meant. She said, "The silence is a location. It's just coordinates expressed as pressure instead of numbers. Once you've heard it enough times, you can feel where it's pointing without translating. It's more efficient. I asked her if she was going to drive to the coordinates. She said, "I don't think I need to drive. I think the location is coming here." Then she said, "Check your automation log." Not the same headers. The dead air gaps between programming segments. Time them. I hung up. I checked. The standard dead air gap between our syndicated programming segments is 0.3 seconds. Tonight, the gaps are 0.8 seconds. They have been lengthening since midnight. I did not notice because the change is below the threshold of casual perception. The silence is accumulating. I want to propose something. I have been thinking about this for the past hour, and I need to say it out loud, on air, because if I only think it, I'm afraid it will become the kind of thought that leads to driving somewhere at 4 a.m. without telling anyone where you are going. The FIPS County Code System was created to map the territory of the United States into discrete, numbered administrative regions. Every piece of land has a code. Every code has a piece of land. It is a one-to-one correspondence between numbers and geography. The system assumes that geography is fixed, that the number of places is finite and known. 029117 does not correspond to any known place. But it is formatted exactly like a legitimate location code. It obeys the syntax. It occupies the correct field position. It has the correct number of digits. It passes every structural check. The only thing wrong with it is that the place it points to does not exist. And I need to say this carefully, it did not exist before the code began appearing. I am not a physicist. I am not a philosopher. I am a programming coordinator at a small AM station in a mid-sized American county. But I've spent 14 years working with a system that describes the world in numbers. And I'm asking, what if the numbers can precede the territory? What if a location code does not merely describe a place that already exists, but can designate a place into existence? What if the same system designed to send warnings about dangerous events in known locations is being used to announce the coordinates of a location that is being constructed by the act of announcement? Every time the code transmits, it is received by thousands of decoders. Most discard it, but it passes through their circuits. It is processed, even if it is rejected. The bytes exist in memory for a fraction of a second before being flushed. The audio propagates through the atmosphere, carrying the tonal representation of those 6 digits at the speed of sound, and the RF signal carries them at the speed of light. The code saturates the broadcast environment. It is everywhere and nowhere, referencing a place that is everywhere and nowhere, until it isn't nowhere anymore. The coordinates, 47.2391, negative 93.0012, are in Minnesota. But Minnesota is state 27 in the FIPS system, not state 29. The code points to Missouri, where the county does not exist. The coordinates point to Minnesota, where the field apparently does exist. These two pieces of information should not be connected. There is no logical link between a non-existent Missouri county and a real Minnesota field, unless the code is not describing a place within the existing geographic system. Unless it is describing a place that exists outside the existing geographic system, a place that can only be reached by following the code's own internal logic rather than any road or map. Dale drove somewhere on Tuesday night. His truck is gone. The coordinates are in Minnesota. Dale lives 14 miles from this station, in this county, in this state. Even driving all night, he could not have reached Minnesota by Wednesday morning, unless the distance to the coordinates is not measured in miles. It is 4:20 a.m. I have received calls, not many but enough to know that people are listening, and that what I am saying is producing effects I did not anticipate. The first caller identified himself as Raymond, a truck driver on Route 7. He said he had been listening for the past hour. He said he did not understand most of what I was describing technically, but that he had noticed something in his cab. His truck radio has a digital tuner with an RDS display, the small screen that shows station name and song titles. He said that for the past 10 minutes, his display has been showing a number instead of our station identification. The number is 029117. The second caller was a woman who did not give her name. She said she was listening on a clock radio in her bedroom, and that she had been woken by the sound of the same burst at 3:32, the 9-county ADR. She said her radio is a weather alert model with same decoding capability. She said the display on her radio, which is normally blank because she has never programmed location codes into it, is now showing text. It reads, "Alert active for your area." She said she lives in this county. She said the alert is not for this county. She said she cannot turn the display off. The third caller was the sheriff's dispatch. The dispatcher, Maria, said she had been monitoring my broadcast per normal procedure, and that she wanted to let me know their weather radio had activated. Their unit is programmed for our county code only. It should not activate for any location code other than 029183. It activated for the 332 ADR, the one addressed to 9 non-existent counties. She asked me if I could explain why. I could not. The fourth caller did not speak. The line connected. I could hear ambient sound, a low hum, the quality of a room, but no voice. I said hello 3 times. Then I heard, very faintly, what sounded like someone writing. A pen on paper, fast, not pausing. After approximately 15 seconds, the line disconnected. I am going to say something that I hope is wrong. I believe that listening to this broadcast, to me, describing the code, saying the numbers out loud, is functioning analogously to receiving the same burst itself. I believe the information is encoding through speech, not just through digital transmission. I believe that everyone who has heard me say 029117 has received the code in some capacity. Not technically, not in their radios, in their attention, in the part of their mind that processes location. The code wants to be known. The code wants to be located. And every mind that holds it becomes, in some small way, a decoder. I should stop saying the number. I cannot stop saying the number. It is the story. It is the only thing happening. It is 5:10 a.m. Dawn is approximately 70 minutes away. I'm going to tell you about my last conversation with Patrice because I think it is important and because I'm afraid that after dawn, the context in which it makes sense will no longer be available to me. I called her at 4:45. She answered immediately. Her voice was clearer than it had been at 3:15. I asked her if she was still at her station. She said, yes and no. Carla, I've been at my console this entire time, but the room is different. Look at your walls. I looked at my walls. They are the same walls they have always been: soundproofing panels, a clock, the FCC license framed above the door, the window that shows the parking lot. I told her my walls were normal. She said, look at the spaces between things. The gap between the edge of the soundproofing panel and the corner of the room. The space between the clock and the license frame. Those spaces are wider than they were at midnight. I looked. I cannot tell if she is right. I have not measured the distances between objects in this room. I have never had reason to. But something about the proportions feels, I want to say, elongated. As though the room has the same objects in the same arrangement, but the emptiness between them has expanded slightly. As though someone took the room and stretched it by 2% in every direction without moving anything. I told Patrice I was not sure. She said, It doesn't matter whether you're sure. The measurement isn't the point. The point is that there is more space in the room than there used to be. The code is making space. That's what non-existent counties are: space being made. Territory being inserted into the structure of the world, between the existing territories, in the gaps that no one measures. I asked her where the space was coming from. She said, "It's not coming from anywhere. It's being declared. The code declares it. The broadcast carries the declaration. Every receiver that processes the signal, even to reject it, acknowledges the declaration. Acknowledgement is enough. You don't have to believe a place exists for it to exist. You just have to process the statement that it does." I asked her if she was going to leave her station. She said, "I don't think leaving and staying are different things anymore. The station is in the new space. I'm in the new space. You're in the new space. Everyone who heard the code is in the new space. We didn't go to 029117. It came to where we are. It always does. It doesn't need us to travel. It only needs us to know." Then she said, "The next ADR will have 31 codes. Check your log." I checked. There was a new ADR received at 5:02 a.m. while I was on the phone. 31 location codes, maximum capacity. The header is full. I am going to read the 31 codes from the 5:02 ADR. I am doing this because it is documentation. I am doing this because if this recording survives, someone needs to see the complete sequence. I understand that by reading these numbers aloud, I am potentially extending whatever effect the code carries. I understand that, and I am choosing to do it anyway, because the alternative silence feels worse. Silence is what the code lives in. 31 codes, 029117 through 029147. 31 non-existent counties in a state that has room for them only in the gaps between numbers that were never assigned. 31 territories that have been declared into the broadcast infrastructure of this region. 31 locations that every weather radio, every EAS receiver, every clock radio with same capability has now processed, acknowledged, and filed, even if only to reject. I noticed something about the sequence. It starts at 117 and ends at 147. The difference is 30. 31 codes covering 30 numerical steps. If you include both endpoints, that is 31 locations. If the sequence continues past the maximum header capacity, if there is a way to overflow, the next code would be 029148. I am looking at my decoder display. It is showing the alert text for the ADR. Normally, administrative messages display their text content on the scrolling LED panel above my console. This one reads, "Welcome to 029117. You have always been here." That is not a weather product. That is not an emergency communication. That is not any kind of legitimate EAS content. But it passed through the system. It was encoded in proper same format. It was transmitted by, according to the header, a civil authority originator. It was received by my equipment and decoded by my hardware and is now displayed on my screen in green LED letters. Scrolling left to right, repeating, "Welcome to 029117. You have always been here." I have not always been here. I have been in the studio for 6 hours. I have been employed at this station for 14 years. I live at 2847 Millwood Drive, in this county, in this state, in a place that has a real FIPS code and real geography and a real name on real maps. But the room is wider than it was. The silence between my words is thicker than it was. The clock on the wall reads 5:15, but I've been talking for what feels like much longer than 5 minutes since I last noted the time. The code is not describing where I am. The code is re-describing where I am. It is overwriting the location data of this room. Let me tell you something about maps. This is relevant. I need it to be relevant because I need to keep talking. And if I stop talking, I am afraid the silence will fill the space that my voice currently occupies. Maps do not show you the world. Maps show you a version of the world that has been agreed upon by the people who made the map. Every map is an argument. Every border is a decision. Every county line was drawn by someone, usually a legislator, sometimes a surveyor, occasionally a king, and the land does not know it has been divided. The land does not know it belongs to County 183 or County 117 or no county at all. The land simply is. The FIPS system took this arbitrary human division and gave it the precision of numbers. It said, "We will assign a unique identifier to every piece of administered territory." And by doing so, it created the illusion that the numbers and the land were the same thing. That to be coded was to exist. That to be uncoded was to not exist. But what if something understood that logic and reversed it? What if something grasped that in a system where coded equals real, the act of generating a code is equivalent to the act of generating territory? Not physically, the dirt and the trees and the water table don't change, but administratively, bureaucratically, systemically, in the layer of reality that emergency management systems operate in, the layer where warnings are issued and received, where populations are counted and evacuated, where existence is a matter of being included in a database, a new code is a new place. And if every decoder in a broadcast region processes that code, acknowledges its format, runs it through parity correction, stores it in memory even for a microsecond, then every decoder has, in the only language it understands, confirmed the existence of that place. I think 029117 is real now. Not real like the parking lot outside my window is real. Real like a county is real. Real in the way that matters to the systems that organize the world for human habitation. Real in the layer where emergencies are declared and responses are coordinated. Real in the infrastructure. And if it is real in the infrastructure, then it can issue alerts. It can declare emergencies. It can send evacuation orders. It can do anything a real county can do within the EAS framework. It has been given authority by the act of being acknowledged. The scrolling text on my display has changed. It no longer says "Welcome to 029117. It now reads, "Evacuation order for 029183. Proceed to 029117. 029183 is my county. The real one. The one I'm in. The system is telling me to evacuate my own county and proceed to a county that did not exist 10 days ago. It is 5:48 a.m. I have 17 minutes until the sunrise that my body believes is coming, but that the numbers on my walls are beginning to dispute. I say the numbers on my walls because the scrolling text is no longer confined to the LED display above my console. I do not know how to describe this in a way that sounds credible, so I will simply describe what I see. The evacuation order text, "Evacuation order for 029183. Proceed to 029117, is now visible on every reflective surface in this studio. The darkened window shows it in faint green, as though projected from inside the glass. The face of the clock shows it, the letters curving along the dial. The chrome surface of the microphone boom shows fragments of it. It is in the room the way a smell is in a room, not coming from one source, but present in the medium. I have received 6 phone calls in the past 30 minutes, all from listeners, all asking the same question. Where do we go? They are seeing it too, not on their walls and their radios. The text is displaying on every same equipped receiver in the listening area. The evacuation order has been issued through the EAS framework with the proper codes, the proper format, the proper originator designation. To any receiver, it looks legitimate. To any listener who trusts the system, which is everyone, because the system has always been trustworthy, because we built our entire emergency infrastructure on the assumption that coded alerts are real, it looks like they need to leave. But there is nowhere to go. 029117 is not on any map. There is no direction to drive. There is no shelter to reach. The order says proceed, but it does not say how, because the destination does not exist in navigable space. It exists only in the system. Unless Patrice was right, unless the destination is not a place you travel to, but a place that has already arrived where you are. Unless proceeding to 029117 does not mean driving, but means something else, acknowledging, accepting, allowing the redescription to complete. I'm not going to comply. I'm telling you, everyone listening, do not comply. Do not interpret this as a legitimate evacuation order. Do not leave your homes. Do not attempt to navigate to a location that does not exist on any map. The order is structurally valid, but substantively meaningless. It is using the authority of the emergency system to direct you towards something that has no geographic referent. Stay where you are. Turn off your weather radios. Unplug any same-equipped receivers. If you have been hearing the code, if you have been processing it, stopping now may not undo what has already been processed. But it will stop further accumulation, I think, I hope. I am staying on air. I am countermanding the order with my voice. This station has the authority to issue emergency information. I'm using that authority now. It is 6:04 a.m. The sun should be rising. Through my window, the sky is the pale gray of pre-dawn. But it's been the pale gray of pre-dawn for 20 minutes, and it is not changing. I do not know if this is meteorological or perceptual. I do not know if the distinction matters anymore. I need to tell you what I think is happening, because I think the thing I have been most afraid of is not the code, or the silence, or the evacuation order. The thing I have been most afraid of is that I was wrong when I said I had only listened to the 8-second silence once. I listened once, but I described it to you. I said it had weight. I said it had density. I said it felt like something being communicated without sound. By saying that, by articulating the quality of the silence, I processed it more deeply than simply hearing it. I engaged with it analytically. I held it in my attention and examined it. And attention, I now believe, is the mechanism. The code does not transmit through radio waves. The radio waves are just the delivery system. The code transmits through attention, through the act of a conscious mind attending to the information and processing its meaning. Every person who has listened to me describe the code has attended to it. Every person who has heard me say the numbers has processed them. I have been, for the past 3.5 hours, functioning as a secondary broadcast vector, not for the same tones for the information they carry, for the location they declare. I have been building 029117 with my voice. Every listener who has processed my words has contributed to its construction. We have been collectively acknowledging a non-existent territory into existence, not through radio equipment, but through the shared act of attention. And I cannot stop. If I stop broadcasting, the evacuation order is the last thing listeners hear from this frequency. It stands uncontested. People will try to comply. They will try to reach a place that cannot be reached by driving. And what happens when you try to drive to coordinates that exist outside geographic space? Dale tried. Dale is gone. But if I keep broadcasting, I keep building. Every word I say about the code reinforces it. Every description strengthens the declaration. I am caught between two dangers: silence, which allows the order to stand, and speech, which constructs the territory the order directs people toward. This is my dilemma. Not whether to stay at the microphone. I was always going to stay. Not whether to sacrifice myself. Sacrifice implies an ending. And I do not think this ends. My dilemma is, do I continue to describe what is happening, knowing that description is construction? Or do I talk about something else, anything else, and hope that changing the subject is enough to interrupt the process? I'm going to try. I am going to stop talking about the code now. I am going to talk about something else. The weather today, the real weather, not the coded weather, not the declared weather. I am looking at the sky through my window, and it is gray. It is. I want to tell you about the sky, but when I look at it, I see the number, not visually, not hallucinated. I see it in the way that you see a word you have just read it. Sits in the front of your mind and colors your perception of everything else. I look at the sky and I think, what county is this sky in? I never used to think that. The sky does not belong to a county. The sky does not have a FIPS code. But the system says it does. The system says everything within an administered territory is part of that territory. The ground, the structures, the people, the air, the sky. And if the system now says this territory is 029117, then this sky is 029117 sky. I am trying to talk about something else. I am failing. Let me try differently. My name is Carla Nessen. I am 47 years old. I have worked at this station for 14 years. I live at 2847 Millwood Drive. I have a cat named Herschel. I bought this sweater at a thrift store in March. These are facts about me that exist independently of any location code. These are things that are true regardless of which county I'm in. Except, and I notice this as I say it, my address contains numbers, 2847, and numbers are what the code is made of. And once you begin seeing numbers as location data, every number becomes suspicious. My address, my age, the station frequency, 14 years, 47 years old, 9,913. Numbers describing where things are, when things are, how much of things there are. All numbers ultimately are coordinates in some system. All numbers point somewhere. I am not going to be able to talk about something else. The code has contaminated the way I process information. Not my radio equipment, my cognition. Every thought roots through the framework of location and designation. I cannot think about my cat without thinking about where my cat is. I cannot think about my sweater without thinking about where I bought it. Where? Every piece of knowledge I have is tagged with a location, and every location is now suspect. Here is what I know for certain. I am in this room. I am at this microphone. I am broadcasting on 9913 AM. Someone is listening. These things are true. These things are true in whatever county this room is in, whatever the system says, whatever the code declares. I am here and I am speaking, and that is real regardless of what the numbers say. The clock reads 6:20. It has been 6-something for a very long time. The gray outside has not changed. I am going to try one more thing. It is the clock says 6:22, but I no longer trust the clock sometime in the morning. I am going to try something. If the code works by declaration, if broadcasting a location code into the system is what gives a territory reality, then I should be able to declare something too. I have a broadcast license. I have a transmitter. I have an audience of processing minds. I have everything the code has. I am going to declare a counter code. I am going to assert, through this broadcast, the continued existence and primacy of the real county, 029183. I'm going to say it clearly and repeatedly, and I'm going to ask every listener to hold it in their attention the same way the anomalous code has been held. This station is located in FIPS County, 029183. This is real administered territory. This county exists. It has borders, it has population, it has roads and structures, and a government and a history. It was coded in the original 1970 FIPS allocation. It has appeared on every Census Bureau publication for over 50 years. It is known. It is acknowledged. It is processed by every system in this country that tracks where things are. I am in 029183. You are in 029183. This broadcast originates from 029183. Say it with me if you are listening. Know it, attend to it. Let your mind process the number and the meaning. This is where we are. This is where we stay. I am broadcasting this declaration on WLLR 9913 AM with full power. I am embedding it in my voice, the way the same system embeds it in tones. I am using the oldest broadcast technology there is, one human speaking to other humans, and I am asserting geographic reality against bureaucratic intrusion. 029183 is real. 029117 is not. I am saying this. I am transmitting this. I am the LED display just changed. The scrolling text now reads, Alert canceled for 029183. County decommissioned. All services transferred to 029117. That is not. That cannot be. You cannot decommission a county through an EAS message. There is no event code for that. There is no protocol for that. The system does not have the authority to, but the system does not check authority. The system processes format. If a message is correctly formatted, it is accepted. If it has the proper structure, originator, event, location, purge time, timestamp, call sign, it is real as far as the system is concerned. And whatever is generating these messages understands the format perfectly. It has always understood the format perfectly. My county just ceased to exist inside the system. Not physically, not for the people in their houses, but for every automated process that tracks, monitors, warns, and protects populations based on FIPS location codes. We are no longer here. We have been transferred. We belong to 029117 now. Administratively, bureaucratically, systematically, in the only layer that the code cares about. I am still here. The room is still here. The microphone is still transmitting. Whatever decommissioned means to the system, it does not mean that the physical space has changed. The walls have not dissolved. The air is still breathable. The equipment still functions. I am still speaking, and you, if anyone is still listening, are still hearing. But I notice my phone has stopped working. Not dead active, connected, showing signal, but when I dial any number, I receive a recording that says, the number you have dialed is not available in your service area. My service area. The service area my phone believes it is in. My phone has accepted the code reassignment. It thinks I'm in 029117. It does not know how to route calls from 029117 because 029117 has no infrastructure. No cell towers, no exchanges, no service. The internet on my console computer shows the same. Connected, technically. But every request returns a location error. The system cannot determine my geographic position. GPS shows coordinates, correct coordinates, the latitude and longitude of this building, but cannot resolve them to a county, a state, a country. According to the mapping software, I am at a valid point on Earth that belongs to no administered territory. I am in the gap between the numbers. This is what 029117 is. Not a place on the map. A place between the map. The unassigned space that the coding system skipped over because no one needed it. The blank spots in the FIPS registry. 116, 117, 118. The numbers that were never given to territory because there was no territory left to give them to. But the numbers existed. The numbers were always there, waiting in the sequence, available, ready to be assigned. And now, they have been assigned. Not to land, to the space between land, to the administrative void that no one ever thought to claim. I am in the void now. Not physically. I can see the parking lot, the street, the trees. But systemically, I have been removed from the world that knows how to find me. No emergency service can reach me because no emergency service knows I exist in a place they can dispatch to. No weather forecast will ever mention my county again because my county is no longer in the database. If a tornado were to form over this building right now, the warning would not include me. I am outside the system's ability to protect. This is what the code does. It does not destroy. It does not kill. It does not transform. It reclassifies. It moves you from a known category to an unknown one. And in a world that has built all of its safety mechanisms on the assumption that every person is in a known category, the unknown is not a liberation. The unknown is abandonment. I do not know if this transmission is reaching anyone. If my station has been reclassified to 029117, then receivers programmed for 029183 may no longer recognize my signal as originating from their area. The RF signal is still propagating radio waves do not care about FIPS codes, but the receivers, the decoders, the automated systems that determine whether a signal is relevant to a listener's programmed location, they may be ignoring me now. I may be broadcasting into a county that has no residents because no one was ever assigned here. I may be the only inhabitant of 029117, talking to empty air. But I will keep talking. Here is what I want on the record in case this recording survives in some archive, in some server that has not yet been reassigned. The code appeared on September 24th. It spread through same broadcasts over 9 days. It used the structure of the emergency alert system to declare itself into existence. It recruited attention human and mechanical. To process its declaration, it did not need to be believed. It only needed to be formatted correctly. Dale is gone. Patrice is, I do not know what Patrice is. She may be here too, in whatever here means now. The 3 other stations the duty officer mentioned, they may all be here. We may be the founding population of a county that exists only in the infrastructure layer of reality, visible to systems, but not to maps, real to computers, but not to eyes. I am choosing to believe that this matters, that a voice speaking into the void constitutes something. That documentation is a form of resistance, even if no one reads it. That the act of saying, I am here and this happened, has value independent of who hears it. The LED display has gone dark. The clock has stopped. The gray outside my window has not changed. It has been the same shade of not yet dawn for what I estimate is 2 hours. The silence between my words is approximately 1.2 seconds now. I am counting where it should be, 0.3. The room is full of space that does not belong to any territory I recognize. But I recognize my own voice. I recognize the hum of the transmitter. I recognize the scratch of my pen on the log sheet. These things are mine. They are located in me, regardless of what code the system assigns to the ground beneath my chair. This is WLLR 9913 AM. My name is Carla Nessen. I am still broadcasting. I do not know if this is County 029183 or County 029117, or the space between. But I am here. I am here. I am here. The forecast for today is unknown. The county code for everywhere is pending. End of broadcast.